Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We do hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Thank you so much for joining us on the back and providing you with instant reaction of Tottenham Hotspur with a 2-2 draw against title-chasing Liverpool. Delighted to be welcoming back 3 returning guests to the Last Word on Spurs. But if you're listening to the show for the first time, you can find us on iTunes, on Spotify, and Audio Boom, across a range of different social media platforms. We're, of course, on Twitter at Last Word on Spurs. We're on Facebook and Instagram too. And we're also, just for Jason's sake, live on YouTube. I've been told Fallon is on, so he must crack on. So welcoming my panel tonight. Delighted to have alongside me the great Jason McGovern. Jace, how are you? Lovely to have you here.
Oh, good, mate. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up.
We're not ruining this, right, for the crowd that have been waiting for a football match for the last 3 weeks. You are not doing this to us, so control yourself.
Fallon's on. Don't waste time. Get on with it.
Alongside Jason McGovern, delighted to be welcoming back to the Last Word on Spurs, one of our own, Jamie Brown from the Daily Hotspur. Jay, what a result. Lovely to have you here.
Yeah, a very, very exciting game of football. I think, first of all, I think from a neutral kind of standpoint, it was a fantastic game. I mean, it had really everything, end-to-end drama. I think there was lots of controversial decisions. Trying to talk as quickly as possible. It was a very, very exciting game. And, of course, we come away disappointed with the draw, so against Liverpool. So that says everything of how we're doing under Antonio Conte. So that's fantastic. I think, yeah, I mean, it's obviously slightly disappointing. We haven't got all 3 points. There was lots of chances in that game that we just failed to take. So frustrating. But I think the main thing for me, and I said it at half-time in our WhatsApp group, the main thing is the performance. And I thought the performance was really, really encouraging today. I think there was lots of positive signs of lots of performances from individuals who have looked like they've improved. So I was really, really pleased with that performance. So, yes, long may it continue.
Absolutely. And also delighted to be welcoming back to the Last Word on Spurs twice in a matter of a couple of weeks. Great to have Sammy Powell back on the Last Word on Spurs. Sammy, lovely to have you here. What a game. What a game, Sammy.
What a game, mate. It had everything, didn't it? It could have gone both ways. The referee, you could tell it was Christmas. He was giving cards to everybody. Spurs missing chances that really should have been nailed. I'm a Dele Alli backer, so I'm sorry for the people out there that want to see him gone. I'm not one of them. I'm one of those that want to see somebody who has got world-class talent come back to playing with world-class talent. And we saw him. He was making a difference to the game. Excited, mate. Just end on volley, silky skills. It just everything that I wanted to see from Tottenham. The manager has brought it back to the game, and it's just left me buzzing. I couldn't be happier with it. And just to top that off, I've had everybody, my pals, I've even had some gooners that yes, they're my friends, and we have like banter messaging me saying it's happening. And you know what? I feel like it is, Ricky.
I totally agree. Jace, let's come to you. I mean, what a game, and something definitely to build upon for Antonio Conte there for Spurs. I mean, everyone really played well. And I can't remember a time in which I've said that about Spurs, but big shouts out to Harry Winks, Dele Alli. I think we were never going to say that. We couldn't imagine saying that before the game, but who came in from the cold and were absolutely brilliant in terms of that game. And Sessegnon, another one you could put in that category. Ben Davies also absolutely outstanding. A real team performance. Everybody fighting for the shirt. I mean, this is Antonio Conte's Spurs, Jace. We've got a lot to look forward to, haven't we?
Yeah, it's a hard one because, as we all know, we're probably all disappointed we didn't win it because of the quality of. It's not just the number of chances we had; it's the quality of chances. They were really, really good chances, and even a couple that, I mean, the Kane ball across to Sonny should have been a better ball and was an easy ball to play and things. So, you know, it wouldn't have surprised us if we had enough chances to score 4 or 5. On another day, Kane gets sent off and you play 75 minutes with 10 men. So, you know, it's could have gone either ways. But just a brilliant game. But I think the circumstances that we've had, you got to recognise Liverpool with a whole midfield and Van Dijk missing. You know, it was a good chance to play them. But the character of the players after what the COVID that they've gone through, the fitness levels of the players, I thought. You know, Winks gave the ball away a few times, but the effort of Winks today, you know, it was everywhere today, Harry Winks, involved in both the goals. We saw good or bad in Delhi. You know, he knows that he should have scored. He knows that he could have played the ball to Kane a bit cleaner. But at least we saw a glimpse of the old Delhi and that. So, no, there was far more positives today than there was minuses. And in a strange way, you know, having beaten Brentford, Norwich and Leeds, today was a was a much harder game. And so, okay, we haven't won it today, but I'm more encouraged by what I saw today than I was against Norwich or Brentford. So, you know, it just, hopefully we can take that into Wednesday, and then, you know, if Wednesday goes ahead, and we'll just have to wait and see. But no, lots of positives today. That's the thing.
Absolutely. Jamie, let's come around to you. I mean, like Jason said there, huge encouraging performance from Spurs, particularly in those circumstances when, let's be honest about it, look, we've not been in action now for over 2.5 weeks, nearly 3 weeks, and that must have created, you know, we must have created as many big chances in that game, Jamie, as in the whole entire reign of Nuno Espirito Santo, because that was against the top side. I know, listen, they were depleted, they were missing key players, but like Jason said there, I'll pick up on what he says, you know, particularly encouraging to see the likes of Winks, Dele, Sessegnon, and even Ndombele show what he can do when given an opportunity. How would you overview that result for you, Jamie? Happy with the point or disappointed not to go away with all three?
No, yeah, I said at the start of the show, I mean, definitely somewhat disappointed not to have come away with 3 points. And I think that in itself is just fantastic that we've got that attitude now. So, yes, I was disappointed. But I think looking at it in terms of going into the game, I think they were obviously missing those two midfielders in Fabinho and Henderson. We're missing Skip and Højbjerg, who have been two of our main midfielders. Virgil van Dijk, we didn't have Christian Romero. So I think there was kind of, you know, you can kind of argue that Spurs, we weren't in the best. We didn't kind of have some of our best players either. And then, of course, you know, we haven't played for 2 weeks. They've obviously maybe had a slightly more hectic schedule. But I think when you haven't played, you know, you can start to lose a bit of fitness there in terms of not being quite match sharp. So I think kind of the circumstances were difficult for both teams. So I think it's a bit unfair in terms of people saying that Liverpool had it difficult going into that game. I think it was somewhat of a fair match-up in the end, to be honest. But no, I think there was lots of encouraging performances, some players that maybe you wanted a lot more from. I think, for me, I think a massive shout-out has to go to Eric Dyer. I think that his performances have been, I think they've been really, really impressive over the last couple of weeks. And it's kind of been a consistent thing now. He's really taken that role as the middle centre back in that team. And he's looked really good. It's what we've really been missing. We've been missing a real top central defender. And yes, of course, maybe he's not shown that all the time, but he's starting to show it a bit more consistently now. And he does look like a really confident player. So I was really, really impressed with him today. But it was more kind of the performance of everyone who's coming from the cold under Conte. Harry Winks was good. Dele was good. Tongi and Ndombele, I'm sure we'll get on to him in flashes, was good. Of course, he created the goal. Again, I want more from him, and I'm sure we'll discuss him in a bit more detail later. But there was just players that hadn't been playing so well. They just looked like they have improved. So yeah, I was very impressed. I was very pleased with that performance.
Sammy, let's come round to you, because someone feel that's probably the best game Spurs have played in a very, very long time. And, you know, we didn't take our chances, but if we keep playing with that intensity, you do feel we could be really onto something special now. And you just now have that feeling, if we can back Conte in January and, of course, the summer, you know, I think this man, we're on to a winner potentially. And who would have thought it? You know, the likes of Dele Alli, Harry Winks, Sessegnon, they were absolutely brilliant. Are you somewhat, in a way, surprised at just how he's getting the best out of many players that some felt did not have a long-term future at Tottenham?
Yeah, I am surprised. You know, I wanted to see it, but we're Spurs fans, so we're expecting. You know, we're used to getting guys in, the best of the best in, and it just doesn't happen for us. There's always something missing in the recipe of the cake that we're baking at Tottenham, and we don't know what it's been. Was it passion? You know, we had Mourinho in. Why are the players not playing for him? Why are they not looking like they want to be on that field? Every single player looked like they want to play for Antonio Conte, and that makes a massive difference. It makes a massive difference in normal life. If you want to be at work, you're good at the job, and you know the guys look like they want to be there. For me, you know, I've been very critical of the back, of the support that we've got at the back. They were all brilliant, you know, and Emerson makes me very edgy when he's on the ball, and I've not been shy about that. And,
yep.
and he is. He's 1.1 second too slow to everything, but he was just magnificent in terms of his vision. Sanchez sliding back and stopping critical crosses into the box, and even shots. The lads were, but Dyer, he looked like a leader. And Harry Winks, what's he? I don't know what he's feeding him. We know it's not ketchup and mayonnaise, but it's unbelievable. He's feeding the ball over the top to Harry, to Son. That's the best football Harry Winks has played in a Spurs shirt, no doubt. Unbelievable. And I can't believe I'm saying it, Ricky. I can't believe I'm saying it. But for me, I know we're probably going to touch on it. Dele Alli, back in a Spurs shirt, playing football like he should do. He looks fitter, he looks faster, and that's what he would say he would get out the players, Antonio Conte. He would say he'd get the sharpness back out of them. Dele looks sharp, and I love to see him starting. I don't like seeing him come on at 81 minutes, you know, and just getting a little bit of time. You're not going to see a superstar. You're not going to get the best out of him like that. And Dele Alli's a superstar. I back him. I think he should be in the squad. Antonio Conte is finding that out now, and hopefully we're getting our rhythm.
Yeah, I mean, Jace, just to come back round to you, I mean, like I said, what a game. There was crazy VAR drama in that for sure. But, you know, Spurs will feel it's a game they could and maybe should have won. And as we said, there's real great effort on the back of what's been a real difficult couple of weeks. We've mentioned the likes of Dele and Winks looking revitalised, Session looking back to potentially his best we've seen in the Spurs shirt. I mean, whatever Conte is doing, it's absolutely working. Are you surprised, Jace, just how quickly it's taken Conte to almost change some of these players around in terms of their performances, or do you still feel there is an urge for caution? I know you're one that always is, you know, keep your feet on the ground. Should we still be keeping our feet on the ground to some degree here?
Yeah, it's an urge for caution because, you know, those players are putting a real shift today, but maybe Dele and Winks up against Henderson and Fabinho is a different test. And we know that we've said it with each and every one of our players. Eric Dyer's capable of a good performance, but we've seen bad. And that can apply to every single one in the squad. You know, Reguilon can look good one week and bad the next. Sonny can be brilliant one week and disappear the next. So it's not picking on players. It's consistency of performances. And we need to see Dele and Winks do that between, you know, against West Ham on Wednesday, and then against Crystal Palace on Boxing Day, and then against Southampton on the 28th, and then at Watford. And so that's 6 games then that they've done it in. And then you start to think, right, we're doing it. But it'd be no surprise if the two of them had a bad game on Wednesday. And that's, like I say, that's not having too much a go at them. Let's not knee-jerk on the back of one game. Today was, you know, we had more energy. The physicality of us, I thought, was superb today. It really was. I certainly wasn't, you know, 2 or 3 days ago, if you'd have said we'd take a point from Liverpool, I'd have bit your hand off. And on another day, we could have had 3 and we could have had nothing. But let's not go too over the top. We need to see that on a consistent basis. But today was, if we can see today with a little bits of improvement in those players, because there were still times where they got things wrong, but it was a nice starting point for both of them today. Yeah, and Winks, it was nice to see Winks go forward a few times. And, totally. And rather than constant backwards, sideways. Yes, there's times you've got to keep the ball and spray it around, but at least today, a few times. I mean, it was a ball to Kane in the first half. He clipped over the top. Was it to Sonny or something? Yeah.
That's a sign of confidence, and he's not had that in the other managers. That's my opinion. So, you know, he's got confidence.
If he can look to do that, then great. But as we say, it's got to be every week type of thing.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair. And I think you're right in saying it, Jace, that it was lovely seeing Winks playing consistently the ball forward. And it's been such a long time since we've seen that. So a real pleasure too. Jamie, let's come round to you. I mean, it was a great game, but I think one thing that many will pick up on is the fact of how many chances Spurs had during that game. And it was so incredibly wasteful, but it's so hard because there was so many positives in that game. And you see Conte's getting so much out of this squad, you know, still unbeaten in the Premier League, and how quickly, as we said, he's improved so many players and got them playing in his style, which is a testament, I think, to how good he is and just generally his coaching ability on that training ground, which I'm sure has massively helped. You know, the lack of games has been so frustrating for us as fans, but I think it has played massive dividends to having those players around him for a consistent period, being able to work with them, to understand his philosophy, how he wants to take the club forward. And I know you're a big fan, Jay. You're a modern-day fan of the XG. I think the XG today we saw was Spurs versus Liverpool. It was 2.46. Combined in August and September, it was 2.70. That's just phenomenal in terms of, in general, how much that figure is calculated to change, isn't it? Isn't that incredible?
Well, I mean, firstly, just on Conte, I mean, look, he's top 3 managers in the world, and I still find it absolutely incredible that we managed to land him. And you talk about the improvements and how quickly he's kind of managed to come in and turn around what looked like a poor squad and making them play like they did today. I mean, he's done it on multiple occasions now. I think we've said it in the past. At Juve, they finished 7th the season before he came in. Following year, they won the league. Inter Milan, they won their first title in 10 years. Chelsea, they finished 10th. The year before he came in, and then his first year he won the title with them. So he's a manager that comes in and has that ability to improve players. We saw that at Chelsea with Alonso and Victor Moses. He made that 2 players who looked like, Alonso he failed at Bolton. He'd had a very difficult time in England. Came over to England, fantastic left back. And then of course on the other side, Victor Moses. Had a very difficult. I think he'd had a loan spell at West Ham. Didn't look like a great player. Antonio Conte makes him one of the best right wing backs in the league that season. So he's shown in the past that he's a fantastic at developing players. And we know this squad. It's got a lot of work to be done on it. And I think and yes, we were happy with the performance today, but I still think that there's a long way to go in terms of improving this squad and to kind of produce that sort of performance today. With that squad, I think that's really impressive. I was not expecting that performance today. I was maybe fearing the worst, even if they were missing some key players. So to go and produce a performance like that was fantastic. But we've seen that now. It looks like we are starting to build some sort of consistency. It looked as though that break for COVID had kind of come at the wrong time for Spurs. We were looking on an impressive run, but today we've gone and backed it up against Liverpool. So I think it's a really, really good signs and. Very, very encouraging signs, and again, it's fantastic now because I'm really looking forward to seeing the Spurs play, and that's kind of what I wanted. I think this year maybe it's not so much about obviously results would be great, but for me it's more about how we're performing and can we see kind of improvements in the team. And today, yes, we're gutted we didn't come away with the 3 points, but we've seen huge improvements in that team and real direction. So although as I said, disappointed with the result. Really, really pleased with our progress as a team. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I think you're right that already to see direction this quickly when we were waiting so long under Nuno to try and understand what the plan is, where we're going, and to see it so quickly under Conte, I think that just tells you the differences between those calibre of managers. Now, we had a whole host of listener statements in and questions, so we're going to rattle through a few of these now. Matt Toto says, finally an enjoyable Spurs game. Conte is the man. Levy should kiss whatever part Conte wants to be kissed and get him whatever he wants. And this will be huge. Ben Taylor says, what a game. Drama.
Well, it might be huge if he kisses him there.
That's what we love about the show After Hours. You get comments like that from Jason McGovern. Sorry for the kids listening in. Ben Taylor at BenFace1989 says, what a game. Drama plus 9 cards, 4 goals, and more importantly, a great performance. Yes, we should have scored more and taken all the points, but a draw against Liverpool is fantastic. Ross Nolan says, as tempting as it is, better players for missing chances. Let's just celebrate a brilliant game of football and take a well-deserved point that none of us saw coming. John Wardell says, how can players who played so poor on the Nuno suddenly become passionate, committed, and play to a different level? Just shows the worth of a quality manager. Colin Zag says, disappointing not to grab the 3 points. We've got to be more clinical, but what a performance for me. Harry Winks was man of the match. Darren Blake, 84, says, much better performance from the team. I was nervous going in, and that early goal really helped us. Just a shame we lacked the composure at the other end, or would have been a fantastic win. Dele and Winks, do they deserve to get another chance? We're going to come on to them very shortly. The Iron Dome says, decent result, but it's a sign of the progress we've made under Conte that already we're slightly disappointed to not come away with all 3 points against the team in the calibre of Liverpool. Ben Hubbard says, no question, I'm just thankful that Conte is giving us our Spurs back. And I think that's very hard to disagree with you on that one, Ben. Absolutely spot on with that. Right, guys, I just wanted to touch upon the team going into this game because it's fair to say, coming over to you, Sammy, that Antonio Conte had to name a very different team in Spurs' return to action. Obviously, Spurs had not played since their victory against Norwich, which was on the December 5th. And after a COVID outbreak, as we know, which swept through the whole camp, that resulted in 9 first-team players, 7 members of the coaching staff, and a large number of the under-23s testing positive. On Friday, he did say to us that Sergio Reguilón was expected to return to full training on the Saturday, and this match had come too soon for the Spaniard, who started on the bench with Ryan Sessegnon playing on the left as a wing-back. Giovanni Lo Celso, Jason will be delighted to know, was back in training this week, and he returned to the bench after a period out with his knee injury. It's fair to say this team was a mix between Conte, who worked with those on the pitches at Hotspur Way, and also alongside the sports science staff that was guiding him in terms of which players were going to be available. That team today we had was Lloris, Sanchez, Dyer, Davis, Emerson, Winks, and Ndombele, Sessegnon, Dele, Son, Kane. And on the bench, we had Austin Doherty, Reguilón, Tanganga, Roden, Skip, Lo Celso, Bergwijn, Lucas. Was that the team, Sammy, you were roughly expecting?
No, but with the options that we had, obviously it was apparent. I mean, one of the things I want to say, Ricky, is that a lot of the big stars that have come through Tottenham have come through with because they've had to, in terms of Adebayor, Kane, and situations like that, players that you wouldn't normally have on the field that have been given a chance to shine. And I think every single squad needs depth. You need depth in your squad to be successful, and you never know how much depth you've got in your squad if some of these players haven't been given chances to play. And they were all laughing at us, weren't they, thinking Spurs were making a meal of the whole COVID situation and using excuses. And it's a very, very serious thing. It's sweeping. It's threatening football at the moment, and we just want everybody to stay safe, obviously. But it's a serious situation, so he's had to work with what he's got. And I'm really glad that he chose the team he did. Again, Ali and Ndombele. I'd always play. I mean, when I've been asked which squad we'd play in certain games, I would choose Ali and Ndombele over certain players. And I haven't been Wink's biggest fan because he's looked like a youngster on the ball in big games. He hasn't looked like he's had the confidence for it. But he was given that opportunity and that platform today under a different manager, a manager that is Antonio Conte, which is obviously completely extracting the best out of him. And it's worked. So now, when we've got a fully fit squad, when everybody's fit, he's learning how much depth we actually have, which is a massive bonus for Tottenham. These young players and some of these, what would be people's second chances, are standing up on the big stage, and they stood up to the plate today and showed that they want it. And that's what he wants to see. So yeah, I was super impressed, very impressed today.
Yeah, just moving on to the game, Jace, the start of it. I mean, listen, Liverpool so nearly ahead on the second minute. Trent floated that in that cross that the other fullback Robertson nodded just wide, and Lloris then saved Milner's skidding low effort. And pardon me, the start of the game was already quite erratic to begin with, but then obviously Spurs did get the opening goal. Kane making no mistake this time after missing a chance a couple of minutes before. Spurs pressed. They won the ball back really impressively. A great sliding tackle from Harry Winks. And the ball came to Ndombele, who I know you're going to now revel in and tell us the most amazing stuff about Ndombele. That wonderful, perfect inch through pass to Kane, who slid it home. And the relief on Kane's face was clear, wasn't it, Jace? He was so, almost like I say, adulation, so pumped to score that goal. And his celebration showed that.
Yeah, it was a good goal, because you're right. The way that Winks won the ball at the start of it was important, and then Tongi's part. We know he's got that. He was 7.
That's the Ben Davis rating that somebody asked him on the screen there. To Andrew, what's your Ben Davis rating for 7?
Sorry, I beg your pardon.
Fallon's not just on yet, Jace. Don't worry.
I thought you meant the darts was on. Right. Okay. No, it was excellent ball from Ndombele. We know he's got that. We know that's in the locker, but it's got to be, we then saw him lose the ball just outside our box 3 times, and you get punished for that. So, but Kane's finish, I thought he kind of half scuffed it. It didn't look, from behind the goal, it didn't look like he did it really clean, but it's just important to get that goal, because he'd had the chance just a minute or so before that, hadn't he, where he couldn't quite get the shot off. The defender had got the block on the turn, but we know how important it is to get him scoring. And his performance today, I mean, I spoke to Jamie, I know was it in the week, mate, when Jamie said, are you worried about his lack of goals? And I said, it's not his lack of goals that's been a worry for me this year. It's his lack of physical challenges and the way he's not really getting into defenders. So to see him make that challenge against Robertson and to to see him go up against the two Liverpool centre halves, win a few balls in the air and things like that. That's been what my worry's been with Kane all season. Everyone, eventually, after 7 or 8 years, you'll go on a bad scoring run. But it was just his all-round performances. But today, I mean, he could and should have scored 4 today, 3 or 4. But it was his all-round game today. The fact that he did link up a couple of times with Sonny, he looks interested through the entire 90 minutes. He looks much more like the Kane outside the box. You know, when he chased the ball down for when Alisson came out and miskicked and things like that. You know, they're the things we haven't seen from Kane this season. So important for him to score, but it's just his all-round performance that was better.
Just quickly, Jay, so yes or no on this, will that be the moment that changes Kane's season in terms of goal scoring in the Premier League for you?
Yeah, I think it will change it goal scoring for sure. We know he'll score goals, and I've no doubt that he'll still end up the season with 15 goals at least in the Premier League. In the Premier League. Don't forget, you know, everyone likes to mock it. Today was his 18th goal of the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just say, Ricky, he's not just his scoring though, is it? Do you not think that that little break has done him well, because he was sprinting so much faster, and even when the ball got launched from Hugo to the other end and you knew it was going back to Alisson, you know, he was still running that full length of the pitch. I'd love to see the speed stats compared to his previous, you know, because he'll have had a busy heat map, Harry Kane, today. And we've not seen him like that for a while. People say, you know, where was Kane for you? He's gone missing. He's not been in the game. And it's sort of been like that. I mean, for Spurs fans, he's always a playmaker anyway. So we see things that he brings to the game that not everybody's watching out for, because he is such an incredible player. But today, you seen it all. I saw that drive back in him, that fight back in him. You know, even him going for that challenge. You know, you've seen him drawing out of those. You've seen him pulling out of those type of challenges lately. And now, you know, I mean, obviously, and clearly, I'm really glad he didn't get a red card, because it was an atrocious challenge when you look back. But in all fairness, one word again, passion, and that's why he's doing it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think we'd all have to say as well, it's a red card. You know, how that doesn't go to VAR and VAR has a look at it, because it looked dodgy at first. But when you then saw the other angles, you think that's red. And that's a 3-game ban or something on top of that as well.
It's very hard to make a justification to defend that. I don't think you can. I mean, listen,
you're a fool if you do.
He handballed it as well after he slid in. He hit his arm. He didn't get the ball. He hit his arm.
Yeah,
and then he nearly took both of his legs off. So it was a
bad one.
Pretty naughty one from Harry.
Listen, we're going to come obviously on to Salah's one later in the game, which again, I mean, the VAR decisions this weekend over the Premier League have just been very, very strange. I think it's almost gone to one point now where, and with the VAR, quickly on this, they almost seem to be now looking for absolutely clear-cut decisions and then deciding not to take any real balance on anything. It's almost like a 50-50, which I just find absolutely bizarre. But we'll come on to that. Jay, to come over to you. Considered after the game on Harry Kane that Harry's working very hard. He impressed me in training with his will and desire. I think he's a really, really, obviously, important member of the team. With regards to Harry, Jamie, is this now the start in which revitalises this season?
Yeah, I mean, potentially. I think Sammy made a good point that 2-week break might have kind of refreshed him a bit. I think the one thing he had such a difficult summer. I think you know, with the disappointment of the Euros, and then of course he clearly wanted that move away, and he didn't get it. So I think mentally it was a very exhausting summer for him, and then he's of course come straight back into the season. Obviously missing the first game and maybe that aside, but he had to come straight back into action. So I think that it was always going to take a bit of time for him to kind of get over that. I think that he would have been kind of maybe a bit drained from that. So I think this kind of period was always to be expected, but he's had that 2-week break now. Of course, things look better at Spurs as well. I think that he will be more motivated by the fact that he's got Antonio Conte there. Spurs are looking in good form. There is potential that we could finish in a top 4 spot this year, and he could get back into playing Champions League football with the club potentially. So I think just with things looking better at Spurs, I think with maybe having had a chance to kind of have a break and kind of refresh mentally over these 2 weeks, I think that's been good for him. But yeah, there was still moments during that match where, you know, he could have had more goals. There were some chances that he still would have scored maybe. Of course, I think there was that header where it was from one of the corners. I think maybe the Dele Alli chance, you know, maybe, yes, it was a poor pass from Dele, but I still kind of thought that Harry Kane should have put that away potentially. So there was obviously still moments where he wasn't kind of at his best, but I do think we will start to see him gradually improve week after week now. And, you know, we've seen it with Antonio Conte, what he did with Romelu Lukaku in terms of improving him. So I fully expect him to kind of get Kane back to his best. So, yeah, no concerns about Harry Kane. And, yeah, hopefully, you know, he now can start to hit the ground running this season.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Sammy, to come over to you. Like we said, Spurs only actually 2-0 up. There was shades of Son's going at 4-1 win over Liverpool a few years ago, 4 years ago, even when Kane carried it forward, found Son harrying into space, but he couldn't quite apply the finish. And as we touched upon, we saw Kane being so pumped up that he went in for a full-blooded silent challenge on Robertson, which is, let's be honest about it, on the eye, it wasn't a great one. Klopp absolutely furious. It was only a yellow. We've already touched upon that. So again, everybody kind of feels that he should have gone. But on the overall incident, Sammy, after the game, Kane was, you know, he was doing his post-match interview where you just felt he was being pushed into that corner. You know, a lot of people feel, you know, there's a certain agenda against Tottenham. There's a narrative that, you know, any other striker, that was Salah, if that again was, you know, again, another top striker in the Premier League, you know, Lukaku, would they be questioned like Harry Kane has now been on 2 previous occasions? If we remember, we had the Arsenal incident where he was questioned for diving. He's then straight after the game in a post-match where he's not even had a chance to review the actual challenge, then been asked, you know, should he have gone for that? And his response was, you know, from his perspective, that he thought it was a strong tackle, but he won the ball and the referee saw that. But I mean, as I said, it doesn't seem to be fair because nobody else will be doing that to any other player. Do you agree?
Yeah, well, everybody who isn't a Spurs fan's got it in for Harry Kane, haven't they? You know, especially when he's not performing. Like I just touched on it before. That's because they don't scrutinise every game like we do and get to see the influence that he makes. But Ricky, heavy is the head that wears the crown. He's absolutely brilliant, and you know, everybody, and that's going to put a target on your back. But I've never seen a player get scrutinised like that. When they did it in the Arsenal game as well, a while back, you know, I thought, what a ridiculous question to ask live on air and put a player on the spot like that. He just seems to be. I wonder whether it's because he's Mr. Nice Guy, and I just don't know. But they just seem to want him to slip up. It's strange behaviour. They don't treat Salah like that. No, correct. And they don't treat anybody else like it. It's odd behaviour.
Jace, coming over to you on that. You know, Klopp described that as definitely a red card. He said he could have broken Robertson's leg, which I think, again, we've all just, you know, we've all reviewed that and we've all said that we do believe he should have gone. Do you feel that was a overreaction from the way it's been analysed from TV, media, or is that what you get for being the England captain? Or are we looking at this from a more of a biased point of view because he's a Spurs player? Jace, did you read a question?
Sorry, I thought it was Jamie.
Yeah, sorry.
I thought it was me all of a sudden.
Sorry, did I say Jay?
Sorry.
We'll go Jace first.
I didn't have I thought once he was selected for interview that he was always going to be asked it. You know, perhaps he shouldn't have done the interview afterwards. I don't know. Did they give man of the match to Robertson? Because usually he's the man of the match and you see the man of the match presentation.
Well, but unless I'm wrong, I didn't see a man of the match being given.
No,
It just seemed bizarre that, you know, again, when I refer that, Jason, you know, like it's a Salah, any other top striker, Lukaku, in the Premier League, even when Aguero was here, I just feel like nobody would be put on the spot like that to review a decision straight after a game. And now Kane has had it twice in the back of 4 years against Arsenal, where again there was that dive, and now today, I just don't think. Is that right? Should he be put in that position to have to answer those questions?
Well, as I said, it was a strange choice for him to be asked to do the interview. He could have always said no. He was always going to be asked it. I think it was a challenge that you're always going to get asked about whoever. I didn't have a problem after the game, the way they were discussing it. I think it was a bad challenge. And then if you're going to review the game properly, you've got to take all the big talking points. The one before with the so-called penalty that he dived for was nothing in the game at all. But that's a major talking point from the game. I think 95% of people that have watched that game will be thinking he should have been sent off. So it's bound to be talked about. You can't be too precious about it.
Don't you find, though, it is always Harry, because there was a challenge. He jumped up on someone's back, earlier in the year, and then for 2 weeks on Sky Sports.
Yeah, that's different, Sam.
We were discussing Harry Kane and how he jumps on players' backs is the only way.
That's different. I have problems with it.
It's like a pitch hunt for him, They need to cut him some slack, really.
Today, no problem, but things like that, when they called it the trademark move and things, that's all absolutely ridiculous, because you see that challenge in almost every single game all season. But today, I think they're right to ask the question, and they were right to debate it, because he should have gone.
Yeah. Jamie, let's come round to you. Like I say, after the game, Conte said he hadn't seen the Robertson situation or Harry Kane situation or possible penalties. He said, my staff told me the second Liverpool goal was a clear handball. And I'm not sure if Jurgen commented on that, but my staff said it's incredible that goal was given. And we are going to come on to that shortly. But we did see Liverpool bring the game level. Jay, Jota making it 1-1 at 35th minute with a clinical header from Robertson's excellent cross. Does it still concern you, Jamie, Spurs' defensive lapse there? I mean, listen, it was what we now had. We've had 3 clean sheets in the last 5 in the Premier League. Would it be harsh to say defensively we still need to tighten up at the back there?
Look, it was a poor moment, because I think that Jota, he's not a guy that should be winning a header inside the penalty area. I think there was kind of sloppy play from Ben Davis to give the ball away, and then Davinson Sanchez or I think it was Dele Alli, potentially. I can't quite remember who it was. That someone should have been there. So a bit disappointing. But look, I don't think you can be too critical. The big teams like Liverpool are always going to create chances, so it's difficult to kind of avoid every bit of play. I think today we were very good defensively overall. So yes, it was like one small moment in that match that was disappointing, but I think overall we defended very well. So I'm definitely not too critical of the defence and in that, for that goal.
Yeah. Let's come around to you, Sammy. The final part of that first half before we go for our first break of the show, Jota went down in the Spurs box. It looked like it could have been a foul from Emerson, but the referee and VAR decided otherwise. You've already described your thoughts on Emerson so far. Are we treading a fine line defensively with him? As good as he's looked going forward, there does seem to be a concern of him defensively at the moment.
Well, I make no secret about it. I like to think I say how it is. I think he's a liability. I think we always have that one liability in the squad, going back Sergio Aurier, but way before that, we've always got one that you just, you can't, you hold your breath when they're on the ball, and I'm not talking about in a good way, and to me, it looked like a foul. I think we were lucky to get away without a penalty, really lucky, which is why when I look at the handball from Salah, which was a handball from Salah, undoubtedly, that you just have to sort of, it's a double-sided coin, mate. You've just got to take the rough with the smooth with it. But yeah, Emerson Royale, he's got improvements to make, hasn't he? And when he gets forward, doesn't get back fast enough for me. I've heard quite a few people saying he's always back to the boxing time. He isn't. He's never back. Like that Kyle Walker position, it would be like he teleported back to the box and he'd be there ready to defend, And we've got some of our stars doing that. We've got Kane getting back in the box to help him out. I'm not happy with the back line. Did they have an absolutely brilliant game that had me on the edge of my seat? And do I love them for it? For today, yes. But do I think they're the right players for Tottenham moving forward? Not really. And if Conte is bringing this quality out of the players that he's got at the moment, you just wait till he adds a few more world-class players to it. And we've got a couple of those to back up the depth of our squad. It's happy days.
Jace, to come over to you. Royale, he picked out Kane for a good run and a low cross early on. Perhaps that was fortunate not to give away a penalty for that chosen Jota in the first half. Was poleaxed by Robertson, which saw the Scot sent off. But overall with Emerson, listen, we've got a lot to get through. So the verdict so far on him, is it a case that the jury's still out at the moment from Emerson generally?
Very much so. He's got to defend 1v1 better, and his delivery at the other end has got to be a hell of a lot better. I never feel like he's going to put the ball where I want it to go when he's going forward. And there's so many times when it was quite an easy ball to put in and he'll hit the first man or he'll overhit it. So, yeah, there's a lot of work to do at both ends.
Jamie, finally, Emerson for you? quickly, is there still a lot of hope for him? You know, he's only been at the club a very short space of time. Do you have to be fair, Jay? Does it take time for a player to adapt to the Premier League? You know, he's had to go through his own COVID situation where he was delayed of coming back to play, and now he's had another break in between. Are we judging him far too early?
To be honest with you, I think one thing that I'm really kind of fed up with saying all the time is giving players time to adapt. I think we see, you know, I did it all the time with Ndombele, Lo Celso, and other players.
You've given him 2.5 bloody years.
I have given him 2.5 years, but I think the thing is, I just can't, you know, we've seen what you do when you wait for a player to become good. Your squad goes stale, and that's what we've seen with our current squad. We got to a Champions League final and we thought, you know, we'll stand still. And we kind of waited for these players to come good again. And over the last 2 years, we've achieved nothing. So, you know, I think it's very difficult to kind of keep saying, give a player time. I think that he's kind of already come in and showed his, you know, some of his traits. He is very rash. You know, maybe it's kind of sometimes his product in the final third is somewhat disappointing. So, yeah,
it's time with the right manager, though, Jamie, as well, isn't it? I think that's the thing. It's really hard to judge. It's time with the right manager. I saw something that I think it was Richard. I think Crackers put on Twitter that Pochettino makes chicken soup with
chicken shit. Yeah.
And Conte is building a whole KFC with it, you know, and I think it's absolutely. I was laughing my head off at it, but it's true.
Yeah. Oh, so Richard, we love him. So Richard,
brilliant comment. But some of these players, you're saying, they were brilliant under Pochettino. That's because Pochettino was absolutely and is absolutely incredible at managing individual players and getting the best out of them. Conte is incredible at managing individual players, getting the best out of them, but making them the fittest they can be. He will not sacrifice anything until the players are at the fittest. Then if they fail when they're at the fittest, then and they can go. But what he wants to do is get them to peak performance and go, right, no, still not good enough. And you know, and that's where time does come into it. So I understand the point of not the time, but it's just being time with the right manager. You know.
Yeah. I think, in fairness, I think he hasn't been here very long, so I think that would be a bit harsh.
Yeah, we are talking weeks, isn't it? I mean, weeks, a couple of months.
I think as Jason I have been given some players, you know, to a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, but that's not. I mean, that's obviously that's not your fault, Jay. I mean, the fact that we haven't moved on the likes of Ndombele, Lo Celso, I've been here for about how long? 15 years now. You know, it's not your fault for doing that. And again, it's a difficult situation. But I mean, Emerson, like we said, it's one that it will be developing over time, and guess we'll see if in time will be good enough. Now, we are going to go for our first break of the show. I can see Jason giving me daggers that Fallon has started. If you're listening, I'll say, taking you into this break on audio, you're going to hear from a number of different Spurs players. You're going to hear from Harry Kane, Hugo Lloris, and Tottenham Hotspur head coach Antonio Conte, who reflect on Spurs, like I say, during 2-2 against Liverpool in that Premier League game. For our watching audience on YouTube, over 500 of you watching us live. Jason, come on, 500 people watching us live, and you want to run off to do Fallon. I show some bloody respect, eh? We've been waiting 3 weeks for a game. So we are going to go straight into the second half, and we're going to start with Jace on this because the game, Jace, to be fair, it did go absolutely nuts early on. Liverpool wanted a penalty. Alisson then come flying out of his goal, and Kane nearly capitalised, completely end-to-end. Then Klopp got booked for an appeal. I mean, there was just chaos, absolute chaos in the start to that game, and it resulted in Liverpool, in the end, you know, going ahead in the most bizarre circumstances. You know, it was a cross in from the box, clearly hit Salah's arm, and then Lloris dived out. But I can't understand, Jace, for the life of me, how that goal stood. Can you?
Well,
honestly, can you tell me how
when
that
you
stood?
said clearly hit his arm? Did you think it hit his arm when you very first saw it?
No, not in real time. But we're in a situation now, Jace. But they've got VAR. They've got VAR to review this.
I mean, the thought process in real time. I wouldn't have too much at a go at Tierney because I didn't think it touched his hand either. So you know, when the referee sees it at real speed from one angle, I can understand why he didn't think it touched his hand. Then it goes to your VAR official to come in. By all accounts, they look at it if the phase of play has gone, which they take off as when get out, then the phase of play has gone, and we're now into the next phase. So that's why it's. So like I say, I have a little bit of sympathy with Tierney for getting that wrong. I do, because I couldn't see it as handball. and then you're down to reading the blueprint of when VAR can and can't get involved. It's just one that's gone against us, I'm afraid. But frustrating,
yeah.
probably a handle that you hope can be picked up as soon as it's seen. But it was more of a handball than Moussa Sissoko's in a Champions League final. That's
Yeah.
Well, Joe, it's weird because, I mean, I'm getting a lot of comments coming in saying, under the new rules, that's allowed. But, I mean, Jay, to come over to you, upon review of that, on a replay, the ball clearly strikes Salah's arm. I don't understand, what is the point of having VAR there and having the referee to go and look at the screen if it's not going to be applied? I mean, am I being overly biased here? To me, when I look at that and think, even when you see the images in still, it's hit his arm. I mean, how is that classified as a goal?
Well, I don't think maybe necessarily VAR is the issue here. I think the issue is kind of the rule. I think what they were saying is that it was the phase of, because it wasn't deemed as being in the same phase of play, which I think is incredible anyway, because of course, that it totally led to the goal. I think you just have to kind of apply common knowledge there and know that he took he can help to control the ball by using his hands. So, if he hadn't have brought the ball down, then they wouldn't have scored. So I think that was just ridiculous that rule is kind of in place. So I don't necessarily blame VAR for not spotting it or not applying it. They were just applying the rules, and unfortunately the rules worked against us here. And I think that, again, that needs to be a rule that needs to be adjusted, because Mo Salah, he helped to control the ball with using his hands. So it was a handball, but yes, unfortunately it was very unfortunate for us today. But there was, again, I'm not going to complain too much, because, of course, as we said, there was lots of decisions that went for us, went against us. So it was unfortunate. VAR has, they've used the law, and unfortunately, the law is the one that's kind of screwed us over. So it's very frustrating, but it is what it is.
Yeah, Sammy, let's come around to you. I mean, Spurs do end up equalising. Another Winks forward pass. Alisson come running out of his goal, completely missed it, and Son fired into the empty net. That's a massive error. Son accepted the gift and brought Spurs back level. I mean, how much character, Sammy, was Spurs showing in that game? To come from behind like we say against a team like Liverpool. I can tell you, if that was under Nuno, we knew that game would probably end up becoming 3-4-1. It just has on the content. There's a real belief in that camp that they can get results, and already early on to see that belief amongst the players, that desire, that fight, that willingness, that commitment. Isn't that a joy to see at the moment?
Well, of course it is. I don't think any Spurs fan would disagree with you, Ricky. But what I will say, excuse me, is that players don't normally make mistakes without pressure. And we haven't been doing that. We haven't been giving that passion and pressure for it to happen. So Alisson's flapping because Son's running towards him like a bat out of hell, which, he should be doing. And that's the whole reason why it's happened. I must admit, don't think Son had a good game. Out of everybody, I don't think it was his best game at all. So even when he had the shot to make on the open goal, it was heart-stopping stuff, because, it just seemed to go in slow motion. I was like, how's he taking so long to hit it? But he created the pressure that created the mistake from Alisson. And I think we saw that quite a lot. The pressure coming from Winks. And when Skip came on, Speedy Gonzalez, every single player in there, he was on the toes. And that the difference that makes to the tempo of the game, it gets them back passing, it gets them scuttling along. And again, you see it quite a lot with Manchester City. They apply that type of pressure, and that's why they are where they are. And we need to be playing that type of football where every player is pressing down. Statistically, I think Harry Kane has previously been one of the best players for that, but he's just been off point. But it was great to see him doing it as well. So, that passion, it's 1,000,000% back. It's been injected back into the lads, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Jace, to touch on Heung-min Son for a second, he was lively from the start. Couldn't quite steer Kane's wayward ball into the net in that first half, but he ran clear, should have done better against Alisson soon after, as the keeper gathered, but it would have been offside anyway. He did set up a big chance for Dele on the half-hour mark, but the keeper saved. He was rusty like that in a couple of the big moments that came to him. But he made no mistake, like I say, taking that goal for as much as, like Sammy said there, it took an eternity to go into the net. Liverpool did struggle to contain him on the day. But again, mixed comments on Son in terms of that game. How do you think he performed overall for you?
It was okay. It was okay, as you say. He scored one. He's been involved in 2 or 3 other big chances. And that's what you want your forward players to be. I felt a little bit sorry when Kane's ball to him, because that should have been a much better ball from Harry, and was an easy ball to play and just keep it on the floor, and it would have been a simple finish. So I felt a little bit for that, but no, he's rusty. I mean, he was one of those, I think, that did have COVID, wasn't he? I think he was one.
We understand. Potentially.
So the fact that he put in the shift that he did for 96 or 98 minutes or however many minutes the game lasted, he was a little bit rusty at times. Maybe that does affect your thinking and concentration levels once or twice. But overall, like I said, all you're asking forward players is to be involved in the big chances, and there's 3 or 4 that he was involved in. So not his best game, but certainly was worth his place.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair to say, Jay, come over to you, that goal to make it 2-2 really ended up frustrating Liverpool to the point which we saw a VAR check for Robertson's foul on Emerson. The referee came to that pitch side monitor like we discussed earlier as to why he doesn't do it more often. He changed the yellow card, upgraded it to a red, and the replay on the big screen, it's funny, the crowd, when they played that back, were wincing. You could hear that, in the stadium, and it was a really wild kick. And I think that just summed up the frustration amongst Klopp, amongst the players, amongst the coaching staff. They obviously felt that an injustice had been done earlier on, of course. But I mean, Jamie, absolutely no excuses there. A red card, if ever you've seen one, right? There's no excuse for that at all.
It was definitely a red card, and I just think on that frustration, I think one thing we did really well in terms of everyone at the stadium as well, we created a fantastic atmosphere, and I think the team as well, high pressure, there was lots of it, real intensity from the team, real intensity from the supporters as well. So I think it was a really difficult place for Liverpool to go today, and we really frustrated them. I think they're a team that are renowned for kind of suffocating teams with their press. Well, today I think there was lots of times when we were pressing them very well as well, and we made it very difficult for them to play. So I think it was really great to kind of see that we matched their intensity and we frustrated them, and that kind of led to an incident that we saw with Robertson today. But yeah, of course, that was 100% a red card. You can't kick out like that. But again, we were very, very fortunate.
I think going back to that red card, it's probably a good job that Romero wasn't on, because I think his reaction would have
probably... He would have throttled him, wouldn't he? He would have killed him.
You know what I mean?
You know what made me laugh with the red card is that Robertson tried to point at the ball as if he'd won it.
Yeah.
But actually, if you look at it, if he'd have won the ball, it would have gone towards the crowd, not back behind him. He wasn't trying to backhand it with the challenge, was he? The ball went completely the opposite direction to what he was kicking it, but he still tried to claim he won the ball. What an idiot! And don't forget,
fireworks though, didn't it?
And let's not forget. And I've seen the picture come up many times tonight, and I did it myself. But as bad as the one on Kane was, let's not forget the one he did on Jaffet 2 years ago.
That was naughty. That was naughty,
and it wasn't even given as a foul, if I remember on the night.
No, it was. That's right.
What comes around goes around sometimes, mate.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like I say, we saw some subs in that game. Lucas Moura replacing Dele Alli, who put a real shift in. Going to come on steady in a couple of minutes. Obviously, some key moments where he looked rusty, but I think Dele gave everything and made an impact, and we'll discuss him shortly. Sergio Reguilón replaced Ryan Sessegnon, who showed he was more than capable of really fighting for that left wing back role spot. As we said on Sessegnon there, he got up and down the left flank, ran into the box, teed up Kane for a chance in the final seconds of that first half, defended well. Did well in his moments with Salah. I think he was one of the best players, in the world right now, Salah. You can't disagree with that. And he showed he can be up for the battle for that left wing back spot. Jamie, Ryan Sessegnon. Let's go to Jamie first on this. Ryan Sessegnon, are you impressed with what you've seen so far, Jay? And is there a way in which you see there being a pathway to him becoming a first team regular in this team, or is there still a lot more to do for him to nail down that spot?
Yeah, I do. I think with a couple of the players today, I think with Dele, Harry Winks, maybe Ndombele, I think they've got to show a lot. They've still got to show a lot more, and they've got to show it on a consistent basis. But Sessegnon, I think he performed well against Norwich as well when he came on. He had a decent game. I think it was maybe against Brentford as well when he came on. He showed some positive signs, but I think it's about building that confidence up for him at the moment. I think there's a couple of players that do need to continue to build their confidence. Dele Alli, definitely another player who also I think needs to keep improving his confidence, because I think there's maybe sometimes when his final ball, he's not quite sure of himself when he's delivering that final ball. Or there's different moments during the game where he's a bit tentative. So I think once he kind of continues to get a run in the team and has more opportunities to kind of do moments that are going to improve his confidence, then I think we'll see a very decent player there. So, but today, yeah, it was a good performance from him, and I think it'd be fantastic if you can have that competition between him and Reguilon. I think we've seen with teams and top teams in the past, when you've got that competition at maybe fullback or central midfield, it elevates both players' games. So I think you've definitely got two potentially good left backs there, and if they can continue to kind of rival each other for that spot, I think it'll only be good. But yeah, I was impressed with Session's performance today. It's just about now doing it consistently. So that'll be definitely one to keep an eye on over the rest of the season.
Yeah, Conte said on Session, I know that if we want to improve our level, I have to improve every single player. If we do improve the level of this team, then I can, like I say, make things happen here. Now, another player that obviously came in for a lot of praise, and it's been a while since we've had a discussion with him in a positive light. Coming over to you, Sammy, and like I say, you said you're still a back of him. That's Dele Alli. It was a real decent shift from Dele. Should have had a goal. Should have had at least an assist as well overall. But plenty of effort and endeavour from, Spurs' really forgotten man, if we're going to say that about Dele, because he should have made it 2-0 half an hour in, but his shot was touched wide by the keeper. Should have given Alisson no chance, to be fair. I think, the shot itself should have done much better. But, he ran onto a ball early from Dyer in that second half. He looked, I think, fair to say, rusty in the key moments. But one thing that has been lacking with Dele, I think we can all say, has just been that application, that effort and that determination to show that he still wants to play for the club. And I think that looked like it was back today. Do you agree, Sammy? Is there still a potential 100%. Of Dele here? Or is this a one-off? Is this a one-off?
No, you know what I'm going to say, don't you, Ricky? But I back him. I think for the form is temporary, class is permanent. Dele Alli he did drift out. I wondered whether he was just going to become a professional Instagram influencer at some point. I was thinking, oh God. And it was sad to see him, putting posts on social media saying he just wanted a game and this, that, and the other. I've always wanted him to get the best out of him. I wanted a coach to get the best out of him. I thought he had a good game, Ricky. To be fair, rusty in areas, I would agree, but I think he had a good game. He got back. He helped play out from the back. He cleared at least 3 headers from the box as well. I think he and his chances. I mean, it would be having a different conversation, and so would pretty much all of the haters on Twitter that really want him gone and want God knows who in his place. Because people are forgetting he's 25 years old. He's not 30. He's not past his time. He's got much more in the bank, and if you get him fit, you're going to get the best out of him. But it would have been having a different conversation if that goal had gone in the bottom right-hand corner today.
Totally agree.
And his pass to Kane, it was just mishit just a little bit short. He need a little bit more on it. And then he's got a goal and an assist and he's back. I'd like to see him playing with Moura, Kane and Son as we've seen him before. I'd like to see that under Conte.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. Jason, on Dele, you've never been shy in the past to give us your thoughts on him. It feels weird almost coming to you, discussing him in a positive light. Conte, after the game, said that Dele played a good game. If we play 3-5-3, he's a midfielder who can strongly, physically affect the game, and obviously has got good technical ability, good penetration in attack. I mean, Conte there almost still giving up the hype, potentially, that is a chance for Dele. Do you see it like that, or do you just think it's a case where he just needed Dele on the day due to Spurs' injuries in that midfield and obviously COVID absentees?
Well, I thought he's done enough today probably to stay in the team for Wednesday, because neither Lucas or Bergwijn bring goals or anything like that. There is a goal threat to him, and we saw him at least get into the positions where we know he can deliver in the past. And I think we've all said that to get the best of Dele, you've got to get him into those areas of the pitch more often. So there's positive signs there. Now he has to back it up against West Ham, and ideally does get on the. I think if he can, between now and that, say middle towards the end of that transfer window, if he can get, it's strange, goals. The perception of Dele will change if he gets a couple of goals, big goals. We've got big games against Chelsea, we've got big games against Arsenal, we've got big games against West Ham. So he has the chance with his own performances to influence really big games. And if he scores a couple of goals in those games, fans will be eating out the palm of their hands for him again. It's down to him. He's got to deliver. But if he then performs against West Ham Wednesday and against Arsenal and Chelsea in January as wishy-washy and we don't get anything like the Dele, then it's kind of fait accompli for him, isn't it? So, like
That's
with
what
all
he
the players,
needs,
the opportunity is in front of you. Go and grab it.
He needs the chance to start, though, doesn't he, Jace? Because, people are saying, one game doesn't make a difference or just one good game.
That's a lot of comments we've seen here.
Whatever. But he needs the chance to start. He doesn't need to come on at 70 minutes. And then just because he can't change the game, everybody hates on him because he's not had a chance to change a game that Spurs weren't winning in the first place. He needs to start in these big high profile matches and show what he can do when he's under the right manager.
He does, but it's a bit like Tongi for me that you can't just pick him and think, forget the result, I need to get the best of Dele. It's still got to be with the team performance in mind. And that's the problem for all of them. I have the same argument constantly with Ndombele. We know what he gives you. If the team can't win with him doing it, then you can't just say, well, we'll give him the next 10 games. It's up to Dele. Let's remember.
We didn't lose, did we? That's the thing.
But let's remember, Sammy, he started Man City. He started Wolves, he started Watford, he started Chelsea, and he started Arsenal. He started the first 5 games. I think he had the chance. He had the chance.
Go on, Jamie. It's coming. Let's bring him in, Jamie. What do you think about Dele? I mean, I'm getting comments here saying, stop the delusion. Dele's finished. The mixture of comments is obviously, this is why we love the show, because you get such a variation. There's some that believe Dele has got a second chance. There's some that believe that Dele, it's washed, it's done with. Where are you on this fence at the moment?
Well, look, I'd say I'm ready to agree with Conte's opinion on him. Of course, yesterday it was great that he kind of produced a good performance, but whether that's an opportunity for him to get back to his best and start playing well for Spurs, or potentially it's a good opportunity for him to have been in the shop window, and then maybe we decide in January what to do with him, and then maybe clubs are maybe thinking, okay, that was a good performance, and today he goes and plays against West Ham and does a good performance, then. Of course, you've all of a sudden got interested in when we looked like, we wanted to get him out of the club. We wanted to move him on. And we didn't look like we'd have any takers for him. So I'm interested. I would be very interested to see kind of what Conte's take on it is in terms of whether he just genuinely believes that Dele Alli can make it at Spurs, or whether he thinks that, he's great that he's performing because now there's interest in him. So that will definitely be interesting, but
that's what it's about for me, Jamie. And I'm sorry, Jason. I don't want you to think I'm having a Dele Alli love fest with it all. But what I'm trying to get across is my point.
Don't worry, he's too busy watching Fallon there in the background. I can see him glancing.
he's watching the my opinion is when I want to see him under Conte. And I've seen him under Conte, and I'm happy about seeing him under Conte. And everyone's comments are, how many last chances does he want? He doesn't want last chances with managers, half-hearted managers. They're in it for themselves or not injecting the same passion that Antonio Conte is. I want to see what Antonio Conte, who's bringing the best out of players, like Harry Winks, with Dele Alli.
All you can say was it was a much improved Dele Alli performance than the one we saw in Mura.
You can't even. But that's not. So, you can't even. It's not even a comparison, is it?
But he has to build on it. Today he has to build on it. But like I say, there's massive chances with big London derbies coming up, and you score into a couple of those London derbies, and we win them. He'll have the fans on his side again, and it's up to him.
I think also the formation helped as well because we played more of a 3-5-2. So he was playing in more of his favourable number 10 role, or false 9, whatever you want to call it. Because we saw when, as Jason said, when he's at his best, he's making those late runs into the box. He's in and around Harry Kane, and he was played in a much more favourable position today. So, maybe having that role, and I think it just. I mean, look, we look really good today in that formation, having someone behind who's linking the midfield and the attack, because that's something I feel as though we had really kind of missed. You've got Son and Moore at either side of Kane in certain games, but it just looked as though. Højbjerg and Skip, they were just kind of struggling maybe to connect the midfield with the attack. So having kind of a number 10, I think definitely looked like we definitely benefited from today.
I couldn't agree more with you. Yeah,
a big goal will help him, won't it? A big goal over the next few games will help him.
That's why, Jace, I was so disappointed for him that he didn't score today because I think that goal would have changed everything. But let's finish on Dele quickly. A yes or no on this. Let's start with Jason. Jace, will he be here beyond the January transfer window? Yes or no?
Yes.
You think about it? He will be here. Okay, interesting. Sammy, will Dele Alli be a Spurs player post January 31st?
I want him to be. So I'll go, yeah.
Okay, this is going to be interesting. Will it be a full house? Because I was going to say yes. So, Jamie, casting vote with you. Will Dele Alli be a Spurs player at the end of that January transfer window?
Yeah, I do. I think he will be. Today, as I said, today was a much improved performance. So maybe if we do decide to stick with this formation, then he's in a more favourable role for him. But again, I'm not saying I'm not opposed to him leaving in January, because I think one game doesn't prove that he's he's
whatever works for Conte, right? I'm sure we're all in that agreement. Whatever's best for Conte. Yeah. I can't believe it. I still can't believe a full panel. Isn't it funny? 93 minutes later, what a performance does. Dele Alli, according to our panel here, everybody thinks he will be a Spurs player post the January window. Isn't it unbelievable? Let's talk about another player. Easy segment into this one, Harry Winks, who again today, I've got to be fair to Harry Winks, phenomenal performance and Spurs boy. Listen, I'm sure he would have been absolutely delighted with that and the reaction he would have got from the fans, because listen, there's one thing about Winks that we do know, like unlike other players, that in terms of effort and commitment, the fact with Winks is it hasn't been a lack of effort and commitment from Winks. It's been questioning whether that ability is still there. And, on today's performance, from the off, he was involved, obviously, in the Kane's first goal being crucial. At that big sliding tackle, he won the ball back to start the move and whipped up the crowd. Played a couple of perfect balls over the top that set Spurs away on attacks. Another curling pass in the final 15 minutes that led to Son's equaliser. He played that second half on a yellow card. And I've got to say on Winksy, that that is probably one of the best performances I've seen him in for such a long time. And again, credit to Antonio Conte. And do you know what I'm going to say this? Credit to Harry Winks, because it can't be easy. We know it, guys. When you're on social media and you must be getting that amount of, let's be honest about it, Winks has had a lot of abuse from fans, saying, get out of our club. And that must hurt him. He's a Spurs boy and he wants to play, wants to do well. Clearly, obviously, he had opportunities to leave the club in the summer, turned them down. He felt he was good enough to be able to play for Spurs. Let's start with you on this, Jamie, because, Winks, he made more interceptions and more blocks than any other player in that game against Liverpool. Are you won over by him as you've been won over from Dele, or is it still a long way to go for Winks?
Yeah, no, I'd say he's definitely in the same boat as Dele and Sessegnon and a couple of other players that needs to show on a more consistent basis. But actually, I think Winks has been pretty good under Conte when he's kind of shown some cameos, in some brief cameos. Today, he was very good today. I think that some of his passing was much better. As I think Jason, you said it at the start of the show, he was looking to play forward as well. But again, it feels as though he's still a bit like I said with Sessegnon. He's still a bit indecisive in some of the stuff that he does. I think he needs to be a bit more imposing on the match, on the game when he's got the ball. Yes, was looking to play forward, but I think there were still times when maybe he could have shown a bit more. So let's see. Over time, he might become a good player. And again, you never know under Antonio Conte. You've got a manager here who develops players. We know that Winks is a player that's got talent. We saw that when he burst, really burst onto the scene in those years where he had fantastic performances against Real Madrid. So there's a talented player in there. But again, it's all about consistency. I'm definitely not hyping him up now. But he deserves, again, he's another player that deserves his shot on Wednesday against West Ham. I think he definitely deserves to start, but not getting carried away with him.
Sammy, let's come to you. I mean, as I said, that's got to be one of Winks' better games for Tottenham that I can think of in recent memory. Such a difference when he tries to affect the game, just forward passing. And we said this to Jason so many times, Jason, I've said this to you, that, Winks, if you put him in that midfield and he's going to pass the ball forward, because I think it's fair to say that in the latter end of the Poch range, in Mourinho, almost forgot what he was as a player. Just so bizarre. And, today to see the way in which, like I say, the vision going forward, there's a real confidence about him. There's a drive now. It's almost a completely different player to the one that we've seen over the past 24 months, really. Do you believe that with Winks, there is a second coming of him in a Spurs shirt?
I don't know the answer to that. Not to be too pessimistic, but I'm on the fence with him, Ricky. Did he have the game of his life for Tottenham today? Probably. To be honest, I think he could potentially have been man of the match today. He was absolutely exceptional. So one thing's for sure, he's playing with much more confidence. What you've got to think about is he? Can you see his name up there with some of the best midfielders in the Premier League? And he isn't. Unfortunately. But again, he's had a really good game, and what Conte's getting out of him is unbelievable. I'm on the fence with Harry Winks. I really like the lad. I know he's Spurs through and through, and I admire players a lot more when they've come up through the club, than just coming in and being a proven player. But he's not. For me, he's not the finished article. But previously, in every other game, he's looked like he hasn't had the confidence. The back passing that frustrates me, and the easy passes. It's almost like he was. At one point, I'm sure I made the comment he was making up his passing tally so he looked good on his stats for when he was sold. But because he was just making easy, simple passes, getting the ball and passing it back. Today, he was prepared to do three things, and the three most important things in a game: fight, create, and take risks. And he did all of those.
Absolutely.
He took those chances, and it showed that he has got a little bit of that ability inside him to provide. So am I excited about Harry Winks to see him in the next game if he can keep up the consistency? Yes. Do I think he's up there with the best in the league? No. Would I like to see him improve? Absolutely. So we'll see how it goes from there.
I think the match kind of summed up where we are as a squad, really. I think, yes, it was a very positive performance and a much improved performance, but we should have won today, and I think that there was, there's lots of improvements to make. So for sure, I think there was a reason we didn't win today, and we weren't quite decisive enough to win that game, because I think a top team would have killed that game off, and they would have won that with the amount of chances we had. So
yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's hard to disagree with. Yeah,
it feels like this, and again with some of the players, I think there's lots of room for improvement there, and maybe in a couple of months' time, when Conte's had more work with them and he's able to keep developing keep improving some of these players, then maybe we would have won that sort of game. But today, it just feels as though this squad is kind of it's getting there, and it's at a good level, but it's obviously not quite where we want it to be yet. Because today, we should have taken our chances and won that game. But again, I'm not being negative all about that, because it was fantastic.
Ricky, just on that, just going back to Harry Winks, just a comment in the comments there. Man City could pay 50 million for Winks, and it gets you thinking about players, young players like Harry Winks that have that talent, but you've never had them under the proper manager. And he's the type of player that you would see go for 50 million to Man City. He'd become absolutely worldly, like a Phil Foden, and you turn around and go, yeah, but it's because he's under Pep Guardiola. Well, the bottom line is he's under Antonio Conte now.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens with him, because you could turn him into that type of player. So I'm not completely dismissing him. What I'm saying is I'd love to see one of the best managers in the world, who is clearly getting the best out of some average players in the world, in the squad, sorry. He's getting the best out of them. I'd like to see what he can do with players like Harry Winks. They're the ones that excite me. And he certainly made his impact on him today.
Yeah, I mean, Simply Ace thinks Harry Winks is not worth £1.75. But again, I mean, that's what I mean about this show. The diverse of opinions is there for what we'll see. Jace, after the game, Antonio Conte said Harry Winks is working very hard. He's impressed me in training with his desire. He's a very good player. And when we play in this position with a number 4 in front of the back three, he's very, very good. I mean, listen, he sounds a big fan of Harry Winks. He's spoken glowingly of him since he's come to the club. Same question I'm going to ask you, Jace, as I asked you about Delhi. Do you think Winks has got a potential long-term future at the club beyond January?
Long term, no. I don't think he'll be there next season. Put it that way. Is that
just the level? Is that because of the level Conte wants in, Jason, in terms of profile and calibre?
I think so, and I think he needs to make a big improvement. There's still a hell of a lot of really sloppy things he does wrong. Not so much today, just in general. So it's can we get him passing forwards? Can he show that little bit more risk taking? Can he show a little bit more game intelligence where you don't lose the ball in really silly areas like he can do sometimes, or get caught on the ball in our centre circle and things like that? So there's still a lot of improvements to make, and I'm not so sure Antonio Conte's a miracle worker. So I don't see him there beyond the end of the season. In the same way you asked me about Delhi, could I see him there after January? Maybe, purely because I don't know how many players we can get in and what type of business can be done, particularly if you start having COVID issues and a fixture pile up. It may well be managers think, do you know what, we just need more bodies on board, even if it is only for 1 or 2 games here or there. So difficult. I still think if somebody came in with a £25 million offer in January, you'd take it. Yeah, you take it for sure. But if the best you can get for him is 5 or 6 million, then you'd probably keep him there, because what you're going to do is 6 million to replace him. So I think it will depend on the offer more than anything else as to whether he'll be there or not.
That's fair. Okay, let's sum this up on Winksy. Jamie, yes or no? Winksy, will he be here post January 31st for you?
Yes, yeah, it will. Definitely be on January. I think with the homegrown issue might kind of limit us as well. But as Jason said, I don't think we're going to get anywhere near the sort of money that we need to go and replace him. So yes, he will be here.
And I think, Sammy, I know your answer. You think he will probably be here, right, beyond January, as far as you're concerned?
Yeah. I think he's probably going to be here. I'm on the fence as whether he should be. We just need to see more of what Conte can bring out of him.
Yeah. Okay, another player we're going to briefly touch upon now. I'm going to summarise on some of these. And Ndombele will just, like I say, we'll just pick people out. Jason, we know you, so we're moving on from Jason. We're going to go to Jamie very quickly on Ndombele. A weighted perfect pass into the path of Kane to score Spurs' opener, Jay. After that assist, he didn't really make much of an impact in that packed midfielder. I love the fact that after we scored that opening goal, he didn't want to go and celebrate. Just absolutely knackered. Knackered from making the assist. He didn't want to celebrate it. I mean, Jamie, is that a one-off?
And we scored on 13 minutes? 13 minutes, and a player that's not had COVID was already knackered.
I'm not. I don't necessarily believe it was the fact that he's knackered. I just think that
disinterested. Then
it was. Listen, it was a lovely. Jason, we ain't disinterested. It was a lovely pass. It was a great pass through. Is he done? Is he done, Jamie? That Tungi? I mean, is there something there? Again, he started today. Would he start a player that he doesn't feel he's going to fight for the club? Or is that just due to a lack of options?
Yeah, look, he's just so frustrated because he seems like he's the opposite at the moment of what Winks is, or a couple of other players. He's got that decisive moment in him, and he's got that real quality, as we saw for the goal. He produced a fantastic pass, and there was other moments in the match where he can break the lines with fantastic passes, but he's just such a liability. He doesn't really seem to fit in any systems. He's not really willing to put in the work, and you can have the talent, but if you're not going to put in the work to fit into a manager's system, and you're not exactly that, then I think it's very difficult to kind of justify his place in the team. But that's why it's so frustrating, because you see with the passes that he makes, he's got that talent. He's that sort of player that we need, but he just doesn't seem to have the work ethic to fit into an Antonio Conte side or even any manager's side. So. I don't think he'll make it. Spurs,
he still had to come off on 62 minutes.
Yeah, but again, Jason, I mean, and a couple of players had to come off as well. Some of them are blowing. We saw Sessegnon came off.
But Sessegnon came off in the 85th minute.
Right, let's move.
Not the 60 seconds.
Let's move on.
Even me as like one of his biggest fans, I still can't really defend him, because again, he's not putting in the effort. He's not putting in the effort to kind of really work for the team and try and fit into a system. As I said, it's fantastic that he's making these passes. You've got to do a lot more in football than that. So frustrating.
I find it baffling. We've got to applaud a player that's running now, isn't it? It's just what level are we at with a player? Jason, let's come across to someone that I know you do. Do hold an interest for, and that's Hugo Lloris. I mean, a couple of really early saves, including a flying one to deny Alexander-Arnold. The Spurs captain denied the same player with his legs to stop a powerful volley. I mean, he couldn't stop Yotta's pinpoint header, to be fair to him, but he did well in Liverpool's build up to the second with a brave dive, but it was for nothing really as the ball worked its way back to Robertson to score. Should we be doing anything in our power, Jason Lloris, quickly to get that contract over the line and sign for another, 12, 18 months?
I think if it's up to Conte, doesn't it? If he wants you to play with the ball out from the back, then you're not. Do we need to spend money in different areas to Hugo? Absolutely. I've
of course,
always rated Hugo as a goalkeeper with the ability to make the saves that he does. So I'm always less liable to have a criticism of Hugo, but it depends if we want to be better side with the ball and have composure at the back. And, so often it's his first pass that puts us under pressure because it's not clean, it's not straight. So it would purely depend on that. I'd be more than happy to see Hugo in goal, but I do think we'll see him move on in the summer. Or if he's there. Or if he's there, it will very much be as a second goalkeeper next year, not as a first goalkeeper.
I think the trade-off between having a keeper that can play with his feet and I think without doubt, I'd happily keep Hugo Lloris. I think when we lose Hugo Lloris, I know for a fact that we'll definitely know how big a keeper that he was.
Oh, absolutely, mate.
I completely agree with you there, but I'm not being funny. He needs to improve on his kicking massively. I mean, he's been.
Well, it's not going to improve now, Sam, is it?
Well, no, but I mean, he takes
to.
an easy option to kick it out, doesn't he? He's for me, that's part of his game that's got worse, and taking nothing away from him. He's amazing. I want to keep him. Yes, I think we should have the chance to re-sign him. He's got to stay. He's a good leader. He's clearly captain for a reason. And but his kicking is really nerve-wracking.
That's fair to say. Yeah, no, but listen, I think, in terms of, I think you said there, Jace, in terms of the other areas where we need to improve this squad, if you can get Lloris down for another 12 months, I think we probably all would agree you would. And this is the beauty of doing this show live, right? You get comments that fire back at you here. Joyd says, I completely disagree with the comments of the panel on Ndombele. Not only did he make the first goal, he did a lot of work blocking and defending. The comments are unfair. Danny says, Tanguy ran his arse off. Rewatch the game. There you go, Jace. Rewatch that game. Ndombele ran his arse off for those 64 minutes. After you've finished watching Fallon, go back and watch Ndombele's performance while you're on player cam.
That's it. He ran his arse off for 64 minutes. The game's 98 minutes.
He didn't choose to come off. He got taken off, didn't he? I mean, listen, I'm not his biggest fan, but
I agree.
Ndombele is an absolute baller in any squad. He's creator of chances. He's got great skill, and I'm not his biggest fan, but he's a really talented football player. And apparently, there's a lot of talk that it took him time to come in from him when he got transferred, and he had a lot of big language barriers, a big problem settling into London. He had a few personal issues going on, and I think that. I think he's a great player, and again, like to see more of him under Conte. I know you might be thinking I'm going completely nostalgic here, wanting Ndombele, Moura, Ali, and all the old boys back, but I want to see what Conte can do with the real talent that's in the squad that we know about, and I think Ndombele's got it.
Yeah. Jamie, let's come around here. We've got to fly through these names quickly. Davinson Sanchez, he made a big change to deny Mane in the early stages. He did lose Mane in the build-up to that Liverpool's first goal, but won plenty of challenges after that. Made a big sliding interception, which Sammy touched upon earlier and added time. Jamie, have you been surprised by Sanchez under Conte, or is there still a little bit of concern generally over Sanchez's defending?
He's definitely a player that I'd like to improve upon, and of course, maybe in a couple of weeks' time we will improve on that in having Romero back. But he was very good today, in fairness. So I think definitely give him a bit of credit, and I think he's been good over the last couple of weeks as well. But I don't think he's a player that's going to be in the team for kind of the long term. I think Romero will come back into the team. I think potentially we do need another central defender. So I don't think he's got a long-term future in staying in the team. But he was good today, very good today.
Yeah, Sammy, Jimmy says back to you, Sammy will miss Lloris dearly once we sign Pickford or Sam Johnson to replace him. Almost like a warning there, Sammy.
I didn't say we should get rid of him in any way whatsoever, but I did say if the replacement was Pickford, then crikey me, I'd be offering Lloris double. But Jesus, wow. But I want to
grab him by the knees to stay if that's the case.
I praise you, Lloris, and I do think he brings a lot to the team that maybe we don't even get to see. That leadership from the back, which is the reason why a captain is chosen in the first place. It's chosen behind the scenes from the play that they make for the squad and the influence they make on a game. But like I said, all I said, he should improve on his kicking. I definitely don't want him replacing for Pickford, buddy.
Yeah, and Stephen H. Dude says, just because Sammy looks like Alisson, he thinks he knows what he's talking about. How dare Stephen H. Dude say that?
Wow, that's a shocker.
Isn't it just? Have you seen those blue eyes from over here? They're beaming. They are beaming. Right. Let's go back round. Let's sum up on these performances. Eric Dyer. Let's come to Jason on Eric Dyer. Jason quickly played a delightful early ball early on. Was more enjoying that rather as a quarterback today, to be honest with you. But defending really well on the whole. I mean, he's just playing, Jason, some of his best football, Eric Dyer, isn't he? I mean, have you been surprised by just how much of the transformation it's been? Because there was that time, and I'm still a little bit in that camp that I still feel there's that moment of erratic nature in his game. But to be fair to him, is he improving, Jace, for you now, where he can be that centre back we've all hoped he could be?
So far, so good. He played really well today, and he's in a good run of form. Just needs to keep it going, and show that there's not the mad Anthony Gardner type moment in him where he just switches off and does something really daft. You know, there's a lot of movement with Liverpool. It's a tough ask defensively. You know, the quality that they've got that Robertson and Alexander-Arnold give, and then the movement doesn't matter whether it's Firmino or Jota or Mane or Salah. So the fact that they defended individually so well says a lot for them. But again, you've got to keep it going. But he's in good form at the moment, which is nice to see. And you know, as we say with players, you know, all the managers come in, immediately turn to him. You know, and as we say, lots of managers lose faith, but they all take a look at Dyer and think he's always the one, whether we like it or not. Sanchez may miss games, Roden misses games, but they all tend to want Eric Dyer in that team. And I think, you know, if you looked at it as if we were playing a back four, it would be Dyer and Romero. It would be Ben Davies that wouldn't be in the side. So at the moment, he's the man in possession. He's playing well. Let's just keep it going.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jamie, come over to you. Ben Davies, you know, another solid performance from Ben there at the back. You know,
how many did you give him today?
I'll give him a 7. Oh, you know, I would give Ben Davies a 7. You know, at the moment, you know, it's very hard to make a point in which Ben Davies should not be getting into the first team at Tottenham at the moment. And that's credit to Antonio Conte. It's massive credit to Ben Davies. So, you know, I think he dealt really well with Salah in general, Jamie, overall. Impressed by Davies? Is he keeping his place in the team for you?
I mean, that would be the toughest task of the season for him, coming up against Salah. Him and Session, I think, did a very good job in terms of keeping Salah quiet today. So, yeah, he's put in a number of really impressive performances now. And I think I said it a couple of weeks ago. I got a lot of hate for it when I was saying it. I feel as though he can be a good central defender for Antonio Conte because, again, it was an example that I used. At Inter Milan, he had kind of these more attacking, centre backs that got forward and kind of put pressure higher up the pitch. And Ben Davies, although he leaves a kind of a lot to be desired going forward, I still think he's got, he can get forward. He's more of a mobile central defender. He can get forward, and I think he'll fit Conte's system for sure. So he was good today. He was very good today. And yeah, I was pleased.
I wish he'd have had the confidence to go for goal when he got through that time. Look across the box.
It's that thing we're missing. I think that we're missing players that just have that killer instinct, and there's a lot of them that are missing that confidence at the moment. And I think when we get that, with the number,
I don't think that's all down to confidence. Ben Davies not hitting that ball though.
Yeah,
has he got what it takes to execute that?
But he's
but he hasn't.
You know, in almost every single game under Conte, at some stage he's got into a position like that. Ben Davies. He made the Sonny go against Norwich, didn't he, with a forward run? So
I mean, I said Conte had that kind of central defender in. I think it was Bastoni in his Inter Milan title-winning side, a defender who kind of got forward higher up the pitch, put pressure higher up the pitch, got into good positions, and I felt like Davies could potentially do that. Yes, I said maybe he does kind of leave a lot to be desired when he is in the final third, but he's a guy who's more mobile. He can defend very well. He can fit into a back three. So I think he can do a good job there. And he's another player who maybe we couldn't see him becoming a really good central defender. But under Antonio Conte, you just never know. He's a fantastic coach. And I'm interested to see kind of what he's going to do going forward. Let's see.
Yeah, Trevor's comment's interesting here. Give Ben Davies some more time. There's goals in there. God, we are trying to find this backup striker, Harry Kane. Very intense, aren't we? You know, quickly on Ben, apparently I've been harsh saying it's a 7 out of 10. Jason, what's he out of 10 for you, Ben Davies, today?
No, I think that's about right. 7's all right.
Yeah, 7 steady. 7 steady and dependable. Sammy, what would you go for Ben Davies? What would you give him out of 10?
He had a banging game. He's between a 7 or an 8. He did have an absolutely superb game. I can't take it away. I'm critical with Ben about Ben Davies. He's not a top Premier League player for me. That's it. But he's having a couple of great games, and you can't take that away from him.
Yeah, I know Johnny's determined for me to upgrade it to an 8. Johnny, do you know what, for you? I'll upgrade it to an 8 for you, Johnny, all right? I'll keep you happy. Jamie, what was he for you out of 10, Ben Davies?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think an 8. And as I said, toughest task of the season against Salah.
Yeah.
Very well. So, yeah, very, very.
First, it'll be like the weekly debate. Give Ben Davies a rating out of 10 just to keep everybody happy, so it's not a 7. This is Jason's fault for starting this.
We can make that a section of the show. What we're going to give Ben Davies out of 10.
Ben Davies out of 10. Johnny's happy anyway. As long as Johnny's happy, that's the main thing. Right, so like we said, Lucas Moore replacing Ali, who worked harder in more of a deeper role today. After the game, we need comments from Klopp as we kind of summarise here before we preview West Ham. Klopp said it was difficult for us for plenty of reasons. One of which was because we played against Tottenham, we played a 3-5-2, and when they got the ball, they kicked it as far as possible, and Kane and Son were on their bikes. Jamie, is Klopp just a bad loser we discussed earlier?
He is an awful. He's an awful,
isn't he?
I
Awful.
think we've experienced that a number of times since, when we've played against him. Yeah, just a shocking loser. And I think he went up to the referee at full time and was.
Yep.
I don't think he was very pleasant to the referee. It's just
no. He said, I think something along the lines of that. You're the only one that I don't get the right decisions from.
Yeah, which just childish. The whole world's against him. I mean, obviously, lots of managers can be a bit, not particularly nice to deal with when they're on the losing side. But Klopp, I mean, he acts like a child sometimes.
Yeah. But even to the point where in the press conference itself, this post-presser, Jace, he said, "I really think this room should have some sanitizer. We have about 30 cases here. I have to touch a chair and well." I mean, what is wrong with this guy? Any words for Klopp?
I can't stand him. I can imagine if he's your manager, you love him.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think one of those.
His comments today were as stupid as Mourinho saying that we were a better team up there last year when we lost.
Yeah.
If you remember rightly. So we've had a manager like that that sees everything that goes for him and nothing that goes against and all of that. We've just lived through 2 years of that. So no, he's another one, I'm afraid.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Conte, after the game, said, "I'd said to my players, on one hand, we had a good performance, great commitment and desire against one of the best teams in the world. 1 point could be good on one hand, but on the other hand, when you create this many chances, you have to kill your opponent." Again, agree with Antonio Conte there. Just to finish up, we understand that the Premier League clubs are going to discuss an emergency meeting on Monday, whether to postpone a round of fixtures due to the COVID-19 situation. That will be game week 20 of the season. That will commence over the course of 28th, 29th, 30th, most likely, amid player welfare concerns. And that obviously would, of course, mean, again, no fixtures over that Christmas period, which obviously to some over here in the UK, to us, that would be very strange because I say we're used to our Boxing Day football and having it as part of our, normal routine really over Christmas. Just to finish on that very quickly, just to get a couple of words on that. Jace, for you, is that the right decision based on what we've seen this week across the Premier League in terms of the building cases of COVID at the moment amongst the squads?
COVID, irrelevant to COVID, no team should play the 26th and the 28th. I don't care whether it's COVID or not. You should not be playing on the 26th and the 28th. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
I could live with all the games being on the 29th or the 30th.
Yeah.
When's Watford? Is Watford the second?
Good question. I have to look at that. I can try
Is it the first?
We'll try and find that out right now. Whilst we try and find that out, let's come around to Sammy. Sammy, can you understand?
Well, I just think it should be 29th and 30th, and then everyone on the second. These games. I know they like to spread.
Watford is on the 1st of January. It's on the 1st of January. Watford.
To me, you should have everyone's fixture should be on the 2nd of January, and everyone's fixture should be on the 29th or 30th of December. But you should not be playing 28th of December if you've played Boxing Day. That's ridiculous.
Okay, Jamie, let's come over to you. Do you understand that decision potentially that will be taken on Monday? Obviously, if you listen to this, obviously on Monday, you may have already heard this decision, so this is a non-redundant subject for you. But in the course of right now, for our live listeners, Jamie, is that the right decision potentially?
Yeah, possibly. I think that a lot of teams have been quite heavily affected by COVID, and of course that limits the number of players that can be in the squad. So there's even more kind of on the current players that are available. There's even more pressure on them to keep playing. These are the times when you need your squad because it's insane making players. The schedules that they have where they've got games on the 26th and as Jason said, the 28th or whatever. That's just crazy. So yes, potentially, I think it's a good idea. I mean, look, Chelsea, I think they were really even struggling for numbers on the bench today. So, the situation, I think I would agree with that. I think it's probably the right decision. Yeah.
I just think that the logic of it, if you've played on the 26th, 27th is always going to be a rest and recovery day.
Yeah,
you can't do any training on that day. And you should have 1 day to prepare for your next game. At least do your walkthrough, your set piece training. But you're thinking if the 27th is a rest and recovery day, and teams are travelling on the 27th to play on the 28th, then they're clearly not prepared for the game on the 28th at all, are they? There can be no preparation work for a game on the 28th. So, like I say, the fitness issues is one thing, but in general sense, if you can't even prepare for a game properly, you shouldn't be playing it.
It's, you know, I mean, Ash on the screen says you're ignoring the fact that TV schedules dictate everything, and he's absolutely right on that. You know, again,
He is.
And also the
He
fact that
is.
obviously we've got a number of games backed up now, where when you're looking at it, you know, we might still potentially have to play. Jason, in your words, that checker trade game, that Europa Conference League game against Stade Rennais at some point. I mean, Sammy, for you, what do you think the right decision would be? Would you be in favour of that potential postponement, or would you like to see those games go ahead?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I think obviously the COVID situation has to be taken relatively, well, very, very seriously, you know, and regardless to the fact that whilst the country was on its knees, they all had wine and cheese, is what they're saying, and we've all been duped by the government. But we'll come back to that another time. I think if there's safety at the stadiums, we should potentially keep the matches on, and it's what makes football. The variables in football is what makes them. As long as, you know, things are being done properly, where there's enough players to play in the squad, and this is the big test of managers. And we're looking at a manager that's getting the best out of players that some of them potentially might not have been on the pitch. Is that not quite an enjoyable variable to see if we can get the best out of people that might not be playing? As long as everybody's safe, I will add that. I'll keep adding that. As long as everybody's safe, I like to see football go ahead. Having 2 games in 3 days is ludicrous, as it always has been, for the fitness of the players, and not only the fitness of the players, the planning that actually goes into planning a match. And you know, there's a lot of digital walkthroughs of the game and stuff like that these days that doesn't even go on the training field. It goes on in the boardroom whilst the players look at what positions they should be in and the likes of. And is there enough time for them to even get their heads around preparing for big matches? I don't know. However, it's life, and everybody's surviving through it. And as long as we've got enough players to play, we play football. Yeah, Christmas period, I've got to admit, what is there much better than having it cold outside, the TV blaring on, a beer in your hand, the family running around the house, and you're cheering for the squad that you love the most?
Yeah,
I mean,
no, that's fair. Like I say, and this is the thing, is I think a lot of people, like you said there, Sammy, football for them over Christmas is, like I say, a massive part of their routine. So, like I say, not having those fixtures around the Boxing Day and around the Christmas period, you're totally right. You know, we absolutely do love it. And again, I think we all just want to obviously stress the nature that it needs to be right, it needs to be safe for everybody. So, like I say, it can hopefully happen.
We've got to remember, Ricky, we're 3 games behind already as well. So what's happening? You know, what's going on there? You know, we're games behind already. We've got to try and if there's any more delays in it, that I think that decreases our chances much more than playing a few players that might necessarily not have got in the squad.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I can tell MS on the screen right now, we will not be applying to be on the Premier League panel unless Jason has got an interest there. We'll send Jason the application form tomorrow morning, but he's too busy at the moment watching Fallon now, a 9-pointer.
No, I'm just looking at what the fixtures are on the 28th in general. That's all. I mean, a Newcastle playing the 28th, I don't know.
I think there's a full round, isn't it? I think there's a full round of fixtures. I might be.
I mean, you look at that game, for instance. You know, and forget who the opposite. Arsenal against Wolves is at 12:30. So Wolves will have played Boxing Day, and they're travelling down for a 12:30. I mean, that's not even 48 hours recovery.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And you know, okay, Watford, West Ham. Okay, at least it's not too much travelling, but for and Leeds, Aston Villa is another one that's travelling, but that's at least 5:30. But for Wolves to be going to Arsenal, and forget that it's Arsenal, it would be the same if they were coming to us. 12:30, less than 2 days after they've played. That is absolutely ridiculous. If Arsenal were at home to us, or West Ham or Palace, you could make more of a case. But Wolves, that's ridiculous timing.
Yeah, I guess I'd say, well, listen, by the time you're listening to this on your morning commute for our listeners on audio, you would have known the judgment and the verdict. So, like I say, you can reflect on this as you will. But for our listeners live right now, we are going to go for our final break of the show for our, like I say, watching audience. For our listeners on audio, of course, taking into this break, you're going to hear from Anna from Spurs XY, who gives us her review of Spurs' women's latest game. And also, we've got a preview ahead of a absolutely crucial League Cup quarter-final against West Ham, which is where we'll be going next. Guys, for watching us on YouTube, still 500 plus of you watching us strong. Thank you so much as always. Absolutely incredible support for the last word on Spurs. Right, we've got a very busy week coming up. We've got obviously the West Ham game coming. We've got a Christmas special. We've got a lot of games to come potentially. Like I say, this could all change depending on obviously Monday's verdict from the Premier League. But let's start with, of course, a big game for the football club. For me, I would say Biggest game of our season, that West Ham game. That's how I see it for me. That League Cup tie is absolutely massive for the club. Let's start with Jamie on this. Jamie, West Ham, who obviously have had now a bit of a free weekend because of their game was postponed. Does it work in favour for Tottenham where there's gaining momentum on the back of that result against Liverpool? How do you see it? Or does the rest time give West Ham the advantage here for this one? Because this game is going to be really, really intense that we obviously hope is going to go ahead.
I think West Ham will definitely benefit from that because I think both teams are going to go and put out their strongest lineups. I think it's obviously a cup quarter final. I think it's a great chance for both teams to win a trophy, and it's a London derby. And I think both managers will know the importance of this game to both sets of supporters. So, I think the West Ham will definitely have benefited from that rest. But I think as well, as you made the point, I think we would have gained a lot of confidence from today. So, I think it's going to be a massive, massive game. I'm really, really excited for it. I'm a bit gutted that I'm not going to be going because of COVID. But, I just think that that's going to be a really exciting game. I think it's between two really exciting teams as well. Of course, West Ham, they're having a great season as well. It's going to be a very, very interesting match, and I'm really looking forward to it. And as you said, it's a huge. I think it's a really, really important game for us. It's a great opportunity to go and win a trophy this year. So I think there's that, and then of course I think it's against West Ham, and we always want to beat West Ham, and especially kind of the form they're in, it'll be even sweeter to beat them. So really looking forward to that game on Wednesday.
Absolutely. I think it's fair to say ahead of this one, coming over to you, Sammy, that team is at the moment is very light on the ground. But obviously, as we've said, West Ham have had obviously a weekend to rest after their game was postponed. Obviously, I think West Ham will probably feel the same way as Tottenham, that this is a massive opportunity to progress to a semi-final, which there's been talk this week that might be cut to one game, depending on the situation around Omicron, COVID, however you want to go with that particular sentiment. What do you think, Sammy, ahead of this game for Tottenham? Is this a priority for you to progress?
Absolutely. This is a game I really want to see. This is one of the most important games for me. Not just because it's West Ham, because it's a chance. But also, it's a big, big game. Can we beat West Ham? I mean, it's a big question. They're not playing the best football in the league, but they're just playing ferocious football, and they look absolutely solid. You can't take it away from them. If you're a football fan, you're enjoying watching how West Ham fight for every ball. The Moyes got them absolutely going crazy. But that's the game that I want to see, and that's clearly the game that I want to win.
Yeah, totally agree. Jason, West Ham have massively improved this season under David Moyes. I think it's fair to say that we can't be taking this one lightly. They're going to come into this game. They're going to be prepared. They've already beat us once already this season. Obviously, now going into it, I think we were all when this game came out of the hat, I think we were all in view of trepidation because Nuno was still here, and we was massively concerned at playing a team like West Ham and the way they fight for everything. But they have gone, Jace, on a little bit of a dip recently. How do you view the importance of this game, and do you think that we go into it as a benefit by just coming off the Liverpool game on a high with a 2-2 draw against a real depleted squad in a wheel? See where I'm coming from.
Well, I'm glad we've had a game today, because going into it having not played for 2.5 weeks would have been a bigger problem for me. They were absolutely shocking at the Emirates the other night. It was embarrassing. It was like
definitely their worst watching the season. Yeah,
Newcastle would have fought better than they did last week at the Emirates. But we always know it's Tottenham, so they'll turn up and they'll bring a big. I don't know how many tickets they got. What, 4,500, 5,000 tickets?
They will have, because the Carabao Cup they will have at least.
They famously beat us 3-3 last season, or under Jose, which is probably the turnaround in the two sides. That 3-3 game from that moment on. I think with West Ham this year, it's important to realise they've lost as many games as we have this year. They've been in the top four, but it's down to perception. They beat Liverpool, they beat Chelsea, they beat Tottenham, so they've won their big games, and we've tended to lose our big games until today. Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea, West Ham, but actually they're 2 points ahead of us, having played 2 games more. They've lost 5 already this year, so they're not unbeatable. And when I've seen them of late, other than corners, they're not that much of a big threat to it. I'm not seeing them really open teams up. They take fantastic set pieces, and we conceded with a corner at their place. So if we can defend corners, we'll need to. Who got sent off against Arsenal? Was it Foul?
Yeah,
Kufal, wasn't it? Yeah, Kufal went. Yeah,
so he'll presumably, because his suspension
he'll be suspended because he'll be for the League Cup, which is a good thing for Tottenham because obviously he's a popular player at West Ham.
Yeah, I think I like watching Declan Rice. Big admiration for Declan Rice. I think he's a super player in that role. And Antonio, we know, will be a physical challenge. But it's Gerard Bowen is playing well for them. But we shouldn't be scared of them.
No,
we really shouldn't be scared of them. And it is just a massive, massive opportunity for us. And no doubt we'll get battered. Even if we win, they'll still be singing "We get battered" everywhere we go. But so I'm going for a 2-0 Spurs win where we get battered.
I love it. We'll start with that one. Let's come on to Sammy. Sammy, what are you going for score-wise?
3-1 Tottenham.
3-1 Tottenham. Okay. Confidence in the camp.
And Kane scoring.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? 2 games in consecutive games for Kane. That'd be great to see.
I just think that the way it works, he should get sent off today, so he's suspended for it. But I bet he'll be the one that scores the decisive goal, and then they'll have a chip on their shoulder like Scousers will and say, he shouldn't have been playing.
Yeah, that would be the way, wouldn't it? It would be the way. Jamie, let's come over to you. What are you going to go for?
I think I'll go for quite a high score. I'll go for 3-2. 3-2 Spurs.
3-2.
I think it'll be it's definitely be a close game, and I think it'll be a fairly high scoring game as well. Yeah.
I've got a question. Who's going to start this game, Galini or Lloris? Jamie?
Oh, Lloris, definitely. I think we'll go for our strongest lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Jace, you seem unsure there.
Yeah, no, because in my score prediction, I hadn't even allowed for Galini. So, if Galini starts, I'll have a meltdown and the team sheet comes out.
You generally feel it's going to sway the game that much, Galini in goal over Lloris?
Well, I think it's a big difference, especially if, definitely. I want Hugo in that game.
You reckon Hugo will start, Jace? Or you're not sure?
I hadn't even thought of it till you posed the question. I bloody hope he does.
Sammy, what do you reckon? Will Hugo start this one due to the nature of how big it is?
He's got to be in it. It's not an option for me. That's one of the games where he's got to be in it. Not only for the fact that he's the better goalkeeper, for the fact that he's the leader, as we spoke about earlier tonight. You need him there commanding from the back, and that's what we want in a game like that.
Yep. Now, King Hollow on the screen, is there extra time? I think my understanding is this game goes straight to penalties, doesn't it?
Straight to penalties.
So, I think all of us, nerves-wise, we want it wrapped up in 90 minutes because if it is Galini in goal, but then again, Galini did get us through against Wolves. We can't forget that. He was the hero of the penalties. So, look, there you go. Jamie, Sammy, Jason, all predicting Spurs to beat West Ham to advance to the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. It's a big week for Tottenham coming up. We will hear a verdict as to whether Spurs are in that Europa Conference League checker trade for Jason, who is anticipating.
Get out of it. Kick us out.
Yeah, Jason, UEFA, if you do want to kick us out, we will take it. Regrettably.
I think if you finish third in the group, you get in next year's Eurovision Song Contest. So I don't want to be in the third.
We was having this conversation with Crackers, and I said we'd probably come second to Bosnia somehow. We'd still mess this up. We'd still bottle it. But honestly, just a massive thank you to Jamie, to Jason, to Sammy and myself. We're back for a mega week coming up on Last Word on Spurs. We've obviously got West Ham to come on Wednesday. We're then back on Thursday for our Christmas special. Make sure you bring your Christmas hats, your tinsel toe, everything. Like I say, you'll see Jason.
I'll have me out on.
Whoever's out on. And like I say, it's going to be a great week on Last Word on Spurs. We're going to have Sammy back on this very soon as well. But from the team, from Sammy, from Jason, from Jamie, as always, thanks so much for all your love tonight in the comments. If you haven't subscribed already, what are you doing? Please subscribe right now to the show. And as always, keep the faith and come on you Spurs.